Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin, I will first go through the presentation, and if you have any question or would like to share some thought, please feel free to do so at the end of the presentation. Thank you. So everybody can see my screen properly. I don't see no one, so if you get a question, just ask louder, and I will do my best. So, my name, like they said, my name is Simon April. I'm a resident of the wonderful city of Quebec, but I originally come from a small village in the Bas-Saint-Laurent, a region of province of Quebec. I've been serving as a commissioner with the National Housing Council since 2022, where I have the privilege of representing disabilities communities at the national level. In my professional life, I work for a provincial organization called Kirul, which is specialized. Uh, uh, sorry, is specialized in activities for in tourism on behalf of the government of Quebec. Through this work, I've developed an expertise in universal activities and well as strong knowledge in the social architecture and inclusive environment. As someone who personally live with a disability, the real name of my disease is osteogenesis imperfecta, often referred as to a brittle bone disease. It felt completely natural for me to encourage the council to examine the important and the ongoing issues surrounding accessibilities and adaptable housing in Canada. Um, Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Review Panel 3, which focus specifically on the situation of accessible and adaptable housing across the country. So, that's it. Let's begin the presentation. Okay, first, I want to thank you all for taking time to join us today. We truly appreciate your presence and your interest in contributing to an important conversation on accessible housing in Canada. You can see on this slide, we are introducing the review panel members and providing some context about the work we are undertaking through this national review panel process. This panel was established under the National Housing Strategy Act and is grounded in a human right based approach to housing. I'm pleased to be serving as the chairman, and this panel, alongside with my co chair, Mr. Sam Watts, and Miss Dr. Teresa Goldstein, serving as a panel member. Together with our wonderful and highlight team, some home are with us today. I just want to say hi to Laura and Vanessa. We bring different professional experience, perspective, and live realities to this work, and we are committed to ensuring that this process remain inclusive, accessible, and centered on the reality people are facing across Canada. Before moving further into the presentation, I think it's important to recognize that accessible housing is not simply a technical or a policy issue. It is fundamentally connect to dignity, autonomy, safety, participation, and quality of life. For many people with disabilities, accessible housing determine whether they can live independently, participate in their communities, uh, pursue employment, maintain relationship, or even remain safely housed. Unfortunately, across Canada, accessible housing remain extremely limited, and many individuals continue to face significant barrier when trying to find housing that truly meet their needs. This review panel was created in response to a request from the Federal Housing Advocate who identified accessible housing as a major national human right concern requiring deeper examination and public engagement. The role of this panel is not only to hear from experts and organizations, but most importantly, to listen to people with lived experience. People who directly understand the reality, the barriers, the frustration, and the impact connect to inaccessibility housing. That lived experience is essential to this process. You will also notice on the slide that this work is connected to the National Housing Strategy Framework. That framework recognizes recognize housing as a human right and encourage government and institutions to progressively improve housing condition and access for everyone. This panel is one part of the broader effort. Throughout today's session, we will walk through the hearing process, the question guiding the panel's work, and the different ways individual and organization can participate and contribute. So, as you can see in the slide, an overview of the review panel process and the different stages involved in the hearing and the reporting process. This helps illustrate where we currently are and how public participation fit into the broader review panel timeline. At the moment, we are in the hearing phase of the process. During this phase, the panel is collecting submission, perspective, lived experience, research, and a recommendation for individual and organization across the country. We are particularly interested in hearing from people with lived experience and disability, housing insecurity, or barrier related to accessibility. We also want to hear from organizations, advocates, housing providers, researchers, service providers, and community leaders who are working directly on this issue. One of the most important aspects of this process is ensuring that participation remains accessible and meaningfully. Too often, people with disabilities are counseled after decisions have already been made. This panel is trying to create a process where lived experience helps shape the conversation from the beginning. As submissions are collected during the hearing and phase, the panel will review the information and identify common themes, concern system barriers, and potential solutions. The information guaranteed through this process will directly inform the panel final report to the minister. That report will include our observation, finding, and recommendation regarding accessible housing in Canada. Once the report is submitted, the minister is required to formally respond with 4 months, and the response must then be tabled in the parliament with 30 days. This accountability process is important because it ensures that the issue raised through the hearing process receive formal governmental attention and response. Another important point to highlight is this process is not focused on identifying problems. Yes, we want to better understand the barriers people are facing, but we also want to identify solutions, promising practice, successful initiative, and opportunities for long-term change. We recognize that accessible housing challenge can vary greatly depending on geography, income, disability, culture, and communities' realities. That is why hearing a wide diversity of voice from across Canada is very important. This is the principle and values guiding the panel works throughout the hearing process. These principles are extremely important because they shape how we engage with participants, how we approach activities, and how we interpret the information shared with us. The first principle is genuine involvement. We want to participation in this process to be meaningful and respectful, not symbolic. People with lived experience must have a real opportunity to share their realities, perspective, and recommendation in a way that feels safe and accessible to them. Another principle, highlighted on the slide is the relationship-centered approach. Means recognizing the trust, listening, collaboration, and respect are essential to meaningful engagement. For many people, especially individuals who have repeatedly faced barriers or exclusion, trust system and institution may already been fragile. Part of your responsibility is to create an environment where participants feel heard, respect, and valued. The slide also emphasizes embracing different identities and experience. No two people experience housing or accessibility in, in exactly the same way. Factors such as disability, age, income, culture, language, gender, identity, race, and geography and mental health can influence someone's housing experience, like I said before. Because of this, we are committed to airing diverse perspective and understanding how barriers may impact different communities differently. Another principle shown here is planning ahead and adjusting as needed. Accessibility is not one size fits all approach. Being accessible often means being flexible, adapting processes, and responding to individual needs when it's possible. Finally, this work is grounded in a human right-based foundation and guided by the principle of nothing about us without us. This principle is widely recognized with disabilities communities and reminds us that decisions affecting people with disabilities should never be made without their direct involvement. For this panel, this principle is not simply symbolic, it is central to how we approach this work. We want the hearing process to reflect the realities, priorities, and voice of the people most affected by the lack of accessible housing. This is the question for the review panel. These questions are designed to encourage reflection, discussion, and recommendation related to accessible housing in Canada. Participants are welcome to answer all four questions or focus only on the areas that are the most prevalent to their experience or expertise. The first question is focused on a vision. We are we are asking participants what accessible housing in Canada should look like in the near future. What does true accessibility mean to them, to us, to all people? What condition are necessary for people to live safely, independently, and with dignity? We also recognize that accessibility may look different depending on the community or the region people live in. Housing a reality in a rural community, northern community, urban, and indigenous communities may all differ significantly. The second question focuses on the impact. We want to better understand how the lack of accessible housing affect individual families, organizations, and communities. For many people, inaccessible housing can impact physical health, mental health, employment, education, financial stability, and social participation. It can also lead to isolation, increased dependence, unsafe living conditions, or institutionalization. We are also interested in hearing and how certain groups may experience these barriers differently, and how multiple forms of disadvantage may overlap. The third question focuses on the systemic barriers and gaps. We want to better understand what is preventing progress in accessible housing across the country. This may include gaps in policies, building standard, enforcement mechanism, funding priorities, or government coordination. Participants may also wish to speak about discrimination, affordability challenge, or the lack of accessible housing stock currently available. Finally, the fourth question focuses on the solution. What action should government organization, providers, and communities take to improve accessible housing both now and in the future? We are especially interested in hearing about a practical solution, innovative approach, successful program, or promising initiative that could help move the conversation forward. Ultimately, this panel is not only about identifying challenge, it's about identifying pathways toward meaningful and lasting challenge. Um, this is the different ways individual and organization can participate in the review panel process. You can see there are several opportunities to contribute and help ensure that this process reflects broad diversity and experience and perspective. The most direct way to participate is by submitting an individual and organizational submission through the online portal. Participants can share personal experience, recommendation, research report, or other relevant information related to the accessible housing. We organize that for some individual sharing lived experience and can be very personal and something difficult. This is why accessibility and flexibility remain important throughout this process. If someone requires alternative formats or accessibility accommodation in order to participate, we encourage them to contact the National Housing Council Secretary. Uh, Another important way to contribute is by supporting participation within your own communities. Some individuals may need assistance navigating the submission process or may feel more comfortable participating with support from organization or trust communities member. Organization interested in strengthening communities' participation may also connect with the Women Housing and Homelessness Network, which previously coordinated a successful community champions initiative for another federal housing review panel. We also strongly encourage participants to share information about the hearing process through their network, organization, social media platform, and communities group. The border to outreach, the more representative and impactful this process can become. At the end of the day, every perspective matters. Whether someone is sharing a personal story, a professional recommendation, reach finding, or communities-based solution. Each contribution helps build and clearer understanding of the realities people are facing across the country.